Set 2, 12 problems. Let's race through them quickly with some hints. But remembering the 4 essential rules. Here's the first 2. They are the most important. You must get something written down on paper. Anything. You cannot sit and stare at a problem and not get something written down. If that means recopying the formula, fine. If the problem says, suppose you have a triangle, draw a triangle. As important as getting something written down is not leaving anything in your head. If you've got an angle of 42 degrees, write it down. If the problem says x equals 6 and y equals 9, don't just start punching into your calculator. Write this down too. How do you write it down? The third rule. Write neatly. Don't just scribble stuff on paper. Be neat. The fourth rule, we'll talk about it throughout. You oftentimes may not know how to do a specific problem, but you can think of a very, very simple example that will help. We'll talk about that. Problem 1. The lead of a screw is the distance that the screw advances in a straight line. Blah, 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 blah. I'm already lost. So I've got a piece of wood. Draw a piece of wood. What's the lead of a screw? It says how much the screw goes into the wood when it goes around 1 complete time. So when it goes around 1 complete time, it goes in 1/8 of an inch. Oh, I see. The screw is 2.5 inches long. The question is, how many eighths are there in 2.5 inches? But you got to draw this out. Draw a piece of wood. Draw a screw going into the wood. The problem comes to you instantly. This is a tough one. I've played with this one. I'm not sure how to do this one easily, but like that greatest common denominator or greatest common factor earlier, we can try a couple things. For example, suppose I didn't know anything else except, let's just try a couple. X times y equals 144. What comes to mind is 12 times 12. But then it says these two numbers together must equal 30. So it's not 12 and 12. Now I see what the problem is. How about 24 and 6? 24 times 6 equals 144. 24 plus 6 equals 30. Therefore, 24 minus 6 equals... That's one way to do this problem. Any trigonometry, all I do is write down SOHCAHTOA. So do you probably. But write it down. SOHCAHTOA. Don't stop there. If it's asking for sine, write down sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. This makes sure that you don't make a silly mistake. Salads, soups, sandwiches, and drinks. How many combinations are there? I'm not sure how to do this problem, but let's suppose it was just salads and soups. There's 3 of salads and 2 of soups. Well, I could have coleslaw, onion, coleslaw, tomato. Lettuce, onion, lettuce, tomato. Potato, onion, potato, tomato. 6. So if I have 3 of one and 2 of another, there's 6 combinations. Therefore, the general rule is when I have things like this, multiply the numbers together. Now I've got 3, 2, 5, and 4 of them. You see how to do them quickly. Volume equals 1/3 pi r squared h. Blah, blah, blah. Rewrite it. Now, what's what? Oh, volume equals 142. So 142 equals 1/3 pi r squared times 8.5. Oh, and I'm supposed to solve for r squared. Do it. A boat departs Port Isabel, traveling to an oil rig. So write your location. You then go 9 miles east, 12 miles north. Number these two. 9 going across, 12 going up. I see what it's asking, the diagonal. This, of course, is Pythagorean theorem. What's the length of AD? Well, I've got 6 is to 12 as something is to 20. Similar triangles. What's the something? What's the length from A to B, in other words? Well, I know it's part of it's 6. It wants to know what AD is, but what's FB? Oh, those two are the same. So let's call that distance x. X plus 6 plus x over 20 equals 6 over 20. Polynomials, factoring. Write it out. Parenthesis, 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 parenthesis equals zeros. The first part is 2x and x. Play with it. Be neat. Geometric series. So 1/4, 1 something, 1/36, 108. Well, how do I get from 36 to 108? I multiplied by 3. So it must be 1/4, 1/12. Play with it. Any line, just remember y equals mx plus b. M is the slope. The most general form of the equation is y equals mx plus b. Any percentage, I always deal with raw numbers. I start with 100 and I mark down 30. That leaves me with 70. I have 70 and I mark it down 20. How much have I marked it down? What am I left with? It's easy to just say I marked it down 50. Go step by step. Start with 100, mark it down 30, you have an answer. This looks tricky. What's negative 9 squared? 81. So this really equals the square root of negative 81. I can pull the 81 out, that's 9. So I'm left with 9 square root of negative 1. It tells me what the square root of negative 1 is. These can be very easy with simple thinking processes. Don't get stuck. One way not to get stuck is to write something down. Leave nothing in your head. Be neat. Think of simple examples.